well, after the first tour, I came back and I went back to helicopter school as an instructor. So I was training other people to fly the helicopters. During that time frame, the military decided they needed more officers, real live officers. So they offered direct commissions from a warrant to a lieutenant to a lot of the warrant officers. Well, I knew I wanted to be a career guy from the start of it, because Dad was. And I knew I was going to stay in the Army. So I took the very first offer they gave. And they offered me a second lieutenant. Well, I didn't want to go from the W-2 back to a second lieutenant. But, again, it was career. So I accepted it, but almost nobody else did. Most of them said, hell no, we're not going to be a second lieutenant. So when DA didn't get the response they wanted, they decided to make people first lieutenants, and they got a lot more response.
Did you get promoted at that time?
Well, my paperwork was back in DA for a second, so they had to redo it all. And I got promoted to first lieutenant then.
So once you left Vietnam, you stayed in the military?
I stayed in the military. I took a direct commission. They said, well, we're going to send you back to Vietnam. We knew that was going to happen. But we'll give you a school if you want to. So I also got fixed wing transition. So I could fly not only helicopters with the military, but also fixed wing aircraft. And then I went to the officer basic course for artillery at Fort Sill, Oklahoma also. And of course, I had Judy, I was married, and in between the tours, coming back to the States in May of '68 and leaving back to Vietnam in May of '70, we had 2 kids. We had 2 children.
Who were?
We had Tracy, Diane is our oldest, and then Chip was on the way when I went back the second tour. And he was a year younger, Don Bradford Jr. And I went to basic course and then went back to Vietnam. Well, when I went back to Vietnam, again, I wanted to be a career soldier. And I saw there was no future for an officer in aviation because there's going to be a ton of them. So I tried to get a ground assignment. I wanted to be on the ground doing something in a war environment. I figured it'd be my last chance. Well, they wouldn't put me on the ground. They said, we spent all this money on you as a pilot. No way in the world we can put you on the ground out there. So they sent me to the first tour was in Pleiku, was Central Vietnam. The second tour, I went to Con New, just outside Saigon, the 25th Infantry, and they made me a platoon leader for one of their slick outfits. That's their helicopter companies. I was a captain then. I pinned my bars on myself going over the second time. I had the orders, but they just arrived. So I got there and and I kept bugging everybody, I want a grounds assignment. So they actually came to me, I was there for about a month, and they came to me and said, well, we have this company has opened, and if you want it, we'll give it to you. So I was in charge of the 25th Division POL, which is fueling and rearmament for all the helicopters. And I had my own little compound on the edge of the base, and I had 60 or 70 guys, in my company, and I was getting command time, ground time, even though they wouldn't send me out. Then we also had down there, well, okay.
Hey.
I also, in our compound down there, we had the aircraft, or the airfield people, which were people that ran the tower, the radar, and all that stuff. Well, both of us were in the same compound. They had one half of it, we had the other half. A month later, the lieutenant colonel that had the airfield command got sent back to the state, got a new lieutenant colonel that came in, and when he saw what was going on, he said, hey, Don, I'm short. I'm getting out. I don't need this. What do you think about running both companies? And we will rate you as a lieutenant colonel, and we'll get this commander to do that. Great. So I ran both companies.
Wow.
For about 3 months there. That's where I got fragged. One of the guys blew up my Jeep, trying to teach me a lesson, and we knew who it was right away, and we had him in jail the next day, he and his buddy. But that was a lot of fun, because half of them was POL rearm guys. Remember, it was in 1970, I said. And those guys were into beer and marijuana, big time. And the average education level might have been a senior in high school, but it was close. The other half of the compound were all my geniuses. They were all college guys. They were air control tower, radar people, all these guys that knew everything. They were into heroin, they were into hard liquor, they had more sophisticated. And we had to keep them all separate, and that was a lot of fun. But I was there until December, then the 25th went home, so they sent me at that point. I went up to the demilitarized zone, the uppermost of Vietnam, where North and South Vietnam meet. And I joined the 1st of the 5th Mechanized Infantry, which was a separate mechanized infantry brigade up there, operating on their own. Again, they had a little bitty aviation unit that had like 5 aircraft, and that was my job, was to fly the command people around. Well, I started off immediately saying, I want to be on the ground. And after I was there for less than a month, and when I came in one night, there was a guy waiting for me, a runner. He said, you need to go to brigade headquarters. So I went to brigade headquarters and met with these guys, and they said, I met with the commander, He said, "Do you really want to be on the ground?" I said, "Heck yeah." Well, we have an opening for an operations officer at the command level here because this guy just got sick and we had to send him out. So we need somebody. We're going to go do something. Okay, I'm your man. If you won't send me out to a fire base, anything, you know. So.
Tell me why you wanted to do that again? Why you wanted to go on the ground?
Because you get more bennies, more points
for
in
promotion.
the military system, yeah.
Okay.
And you get promoted a lot faster than people that don't do that.
So how much longer were you in Vietnam after that?
I stayed in Vietnam for the rest of my tour. That was December, January, and I left in May again.
Okay, so tell me about raising the kids. What was that like?
Well, when I came back, when I came back from Vietnam, that tour, I went to Fort Ord, California, and had a lot of very unusual experiences there. To include, I think to some extent, having a very big part of stopping the VOLAR, which is the voluntary army concept that was going on at that time. When I first got to Fort Ord, they thought the general way of looking at the military was that if you were old enough to go in the military, you were old enough to listen to what needed to be done and to do it, and you didn't need anybody to make you do anything. It was a farce. It was a joke. When we went to Fort Ord with Judy, women would not walk across the base alone during the daytime because they might be accosted by military people on base. If nothing else, they got catcalls. Troops marching would make catcalls to women going by. You would not have a single soldier walking on post by themselves after dark because they might get robbed.
Mm-hmm.
And it was terrible. There was no discipline at all. And that's the way the entire military was at that time. And this, of course, Fort Ord was a basic training post. So we had a lot of brand new ones there.
So with the kids, you had 5 total?
No, I had
4.
a total of 3. We were at Fort Ord for about a year, and Judy got pregnant with Tanya, our third one.
Okay.
And then I was the base range company commander, and like Judy said the other day, I was averaging probably 80 hours a week working, but somehow she still had Tanya. But I got a RIF notice. They decided to reduce the military. So they started kicking all the officers out. They had too many officers. Vietnam was going down. They wanted to reduce the force. And I got my RIF notice. Well, I didn't want it, but you had no choice. The commanding general actually called DAs right to get me off the list, and they would not do it. So I knew I was going to get kicked out of the Army, and actually, normally they gave you 90 days, and then you're out. Well, Judy was pregnant, so we actually ended up with 5 months. So when I got my RIF notice, I told my company people what to do to close out the company, and get ready for somebody else. Gave my keys to the battalion commander. I was the oldest, in tenure-wise, the oldest company commander on 4 Ord. Your normal tour was 12 months. I had mine 21 months. Nobody ever had one that long. Because I liked it, and I was doing fairly good with it.
So tell me about, you were in the financial planning world for how long?
When I got out, when we got kicked out, one thing the military did, they would send me back to where I joined the military with all my family and household goods. And that was Alaska. Well, Julia was born or raised in Colorado, so we talked it over and decided to go back to Alaska. And we were actually hoping to come back to Alaska and homestead. Well, they had a lot of these big job fairs because I didn't know what I was going to do. There's not a lot of call in the civilian life for commanders or at that point for helicopter pilots because there were a lot of pilots getting out. So that market was pretty flooded. So I went to job fairs, came home and told her I was going to be an insurance salesman with Aetna, and she started crying. I was fairly well known for not following rules, marching to be my own drummer, had no money motivation, had no empathy for people at all, and she just started crying. I said, well, it'll be all right. I'll join the Guard of their part-time, so we'll have some kind of money coming in. And so we bought a pickup and a camper, and we drove to Alaska. And I became an insurance salesman. And that was 1974, and we've been in Alaska ever since. And during that time, I've probably done a little bit of everything in the insurance area.
So Don, what's your passion?
I think the biggest thing, they always ask, what's your favorite thing? And I have to say in the last 20 years, again, I like hunting and fishing, and I was very passionate about golf. For a few years, I played big-time volleyball up here. I've done a lot of that, a lot of everything, I think. But we also, as part of the financial services stuff that I got involved in doing retirement plans, we were able to qualify for trips. And so Judy and I, over the last 30 years, have traveled all over the world on these trips. And the company, we would qualify for them. The company would pay our way back and forth to this 1-week trip, put us up in the 5-star hotel and wine and dine us. During that, and we would go anywhere from 1 to 4 times a year on these trips. I was very lucky. But we also never just went on a trip. I think of all those years we traveled, probably 15 years there that we traveled like that. There were only, I think, 2 trips where we just went for a trip. We would normally go a week early or stay a week later or 2 or 3 weeks earlier or later. So we've been very, very lucky to travel all over the world together. And Judy loves it, so do I. And I would say that was probably one of our biggest passions overall. Until about 15 years, 20 years ago, and we started having grandkids. And then the grandkids became the passion. And we've been so lucky. All three of our kids live right in the neighborhood here, and we got 11 grandkids, and we see them all the time. We do things together all the time.
So, Tom, what do you want to leave your grandkids with? What do you want to tell them?
It just comes. It's hard to tell. Okay, I think it's over.
Okay. You want to say anything to your kids or grandkids?
I'm sorry?
Want to say anything, last things to your grandkids?
Oh, I thought you'd pause. I'm sorry. Yeah. You know, kids are wonderful. I am so proud of my kids and what they've done. I didn't always agree with them. They don't always agree with me. I offer them advice when they want it. Unfortunately, probably sometimes they don't want it. But they're smart enough not to always listen to me, too. I should say to listen, but not to do what I do. They definitely live their own lives and have done a wonderful job of it. And I think grandkids will do the same thing. We got them all the way from 20, I think they're maybe 25 now.
No, he's 26 or 27.
And the youngest one is 3. But, and they're all individuals. But, kids are wonderful, grandkids are even greater, because you always send them home to mom and dad. But we have been so blessed. The kids get along together, the grandkids get along together. I can't imagine a better life than having the kids around like that. And all of them getting together, enjoying each other, liking each other. And the other thing is so hard for me to imagine because I'm a loner. I still have to work at having empathy for anybody outside of my own family, of course. Sometimes maybe I have to work at that too, but over the years I have developed a few friends from all over the country, and I am so blessed that I know there's a lot of these guys that I could pick up the phone and call and talk to them about anything, or probably ask them for anything, and they would respond. And there aren't very... I really don't like to use the term friend loosely. I'm very protective of that. But we have been so blessed with a lot of people we've met and are friends with that makes us very unique.
Thanks. Okay. So from high school, moving from high school was
Yeah.
difficult?
It was always hard, in whatever grade you were, to move from one place to another because you had to leave your friends and you were going to a new place you've probably never been before. But there's always good stuff, good and bad in everything I learned as a child. And my mother's attitude was always, wherever we're going, we're going to find something good. And it doesn't matter what other people said about it before or when they were there or anything else. We make our own way. So whatever we do, what's between your ears is going to determine whether it's good or bad, not what other people think about it. So we always look at the bright side of things. We weren't always happy to have to go do it, but that was a fact of life. So we always found good things and enjoyed everywhere we were at.
So it sounds like your mom was a pretty good influence on
Oh
your
yeah,
life.
and they both were. I tend to be a disciplinarian too. I think that, I'm a firm believer in the old adage, you spare the rod and you spoil the child. And I think that, if you show the child the way to go, that's your job as a parent. Is not to be a